everyone. Andalip, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, Priya. And thank you so much. And good to see you too, Nishith. And I'm so happy that you are with us today. And Priya and Andalip, this is a Clubhouse platform for Priya and Andalip. And Clubhouse platform is very new because we are planning to do very different things and very simple things. And we know that there are lots of things happening in our daily life. And from there's daily life, we have stress, anxiety, how to deal with this. But when we talk and chat about those things in our daily life issues, we found that lots of easy way, encouraging way to deal with those. And as we all are NLP trainers and we train with our master trainer, Nishith Shah, our master trainer, Nishith Shah is founder of Thought Labs, co-founder of NLP Global Summit, and a mountaineer. And we are so happy to have you with us. And we are planning that this is the platform, it's an open platform. We are doing our daily life issues, dealing with NLP and how to enrich ourselves with NLP techniques and tools. And this is our new series of Clubhouse, and we are going to publish it in our Twitter space, Clubhouse, Facebook, Zoom. And what I am also having to say that Nishith Shah, he is the amazing NLP trainer, and we are so happy to have you, Nishith, today.
Thank you so much. Introduction, Andalip. I too am very excited to start our first interviews, the first episode of our interview series with the Roundtable chat. Like you said, the Roundtable chat is something that has taken place on Clubhouse, on Twitter Spaces, which is now X Spaces. And it's one of these free flowing conversations that we get to enjoy either with other people in general or in this particular episode with Nishith Shah. So thank you so much for laying the groundwork for our conversation today. Welcome, Nishith. Thank you for being part of our conversation today. And we're very excited to explore the upcoming topic with you. So, by way of introduction, before we proceed further, Andalip is a psychologist and an NLP trainer. I myself am a certified life coach and an NLP trainer with intentionalcoaching.online. And Andalip, I hand the mic to you to introduce Nishith Shah to our audience today.
Yeah, I think it's a very good opportunity for me to talk about Nishith again. And as I said before, that Priya and I, we are the trainee of Nishith. And Nishith is the NLP master trainer, founder of Thought Labs, co-founder of NLP Global Summit, and an amazing mountaineer for us.
Yes.
And we are looking forward to talk with Nishith to unpack today's amazing topic.
Absolutely. And Nishith, welcome to the Roundtable chat. It's an honor to have you as our first guest of our interview series.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I mean, like I said, I've known you guys for at least 3 to 4 years to see this journey grow and the amazing stuff that you guys are doing and the amazing stuff that you guys are building. It's just brilliant. So I'm so glad and happy, and I'm honored to be here on your first episode of the new series of impacting people and helping them in their daily lives.
Yeah, thank you so much for making time to be here with us with your busy schedule. And, for us, the fact that you're an NLP master trainer as well as a mountaineer, it just felt very natural for us to bring up a rather provocative topic with you today. It is here is the topic for our chat today. Being with nature, is it a limitless waste of time? I would love to know your thoughts on our topic for the day.
Yeah. I mean, being with nature, is it a limitless waste of time? Absolutely. It would be a limitless waste of time when your area and the vision is not personal growth, then absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I Yeah, yeah. We thought we'd start with a rather offbeat topic like that. Antale, what are your thoughts on this topic? Is being with nature a
Yeah.
limitless waste of time to you?
So the topic itself is very, what we say, crazy topic, crazy clubhouse topic.
Yeah,
But the
I
thing is that there is nothing called without nature. We are nature. We are the child of nature. So we are nature. We are coming from nature. We are going back to nature. So I'm very curious. We are very curious today and unpack these limitless resources from nature.
yeah, yeah. So I guess the reason we phrase the topic like this, being with nature, a limitless waste of time, is because most of us tend to be limited to cities these days. And, our lives are defined by the schedules and timings and office centric activities, clubbing at nightclubs, basically doing anything that separates us from nature in itself. And as Andalip just said, and as Nishit mentioned, nature is the essence of our existence at the end of the day. We are a part of nature. It's something we can't afford to forget. And Nishit, you are a mountaineer, right? The one thing we know about you over the years that we have had our relationship with you is you seem to seek every opportunity possible to not just go to nature in terms of a park or a garden, but you go to mountains, right? You take you hike up to summits. You basically expose yourself to nature in her purest form. You seem to do this in a compulsive manner whenever possible. That we know that you're either in the Himalayas or in the mountains of Switzerland or in Italy, and we would love to know more about what takes an NLP master trainer towards such conditions so periodically. What is the foundation for that?
Yeah. I mean, one of the first things that I've shared so many times in the past as well is that to me, nature is the one of the most impactful coaches that we can have in our lives. One, it's for free, right? You don't have to pay the coach, and it's available. So for me, nature brings so much of growth, so much of healing, and so much of learning, and specifically mountains, because like I'm a mountaineer, I love the experience of being in the mountain. It actually started long time back, maybe 10, 12 years, when was just starting out to do a lot more hiking, and even doing longer treks and expeditions. And I started to realize that, some of these things felt so challenging. Like when I think about them, like, oh, an expedition. And this is something I've experienced for most people. Most people, when they think about like a trek, they in their head, they go like, oh, wow, wow. But when I started doing them, they were all very simple or not that challenging or not as challenging as I expected them to be. And so to me, it gave me the experience that, just by doing this trek, I recognized that my thoughts were limiting. What I thought about it before was limiting, and um, now it's different. So, so that's to me that was such a growth experience. To me, that was a new belief that was embedded in my system. That I'm always more than what I think I am. My thoughts are limiting, and that was the first experience of I can think about that was like, here's nature coaching me. I didn't need a coach. It was just going through this experience. It was enough for me to get coached. And then that's what happens for me in terms of climbing. Climbing allows me to kind of go outside of my comfort zone, recognize some of the patterns that I don't naturally recognize because sometimes it's challenging, sometimes the conditions are difficult. I mean, I've been stuck in the mountains overnight in a jungle alone. I've been stuck in snowstorm for like 7 days. Uh, and every time none of those was life threatening. None of those was risk to my life. It was just being stuck. Uh, but every time something like this has happened, I got aware of new resources that I had. I got aware of new patterns that I had. And a lot of that was so impactful in all areas of my life because when I recognized those patterns, I could see them in different areas of my life as well. And then I was like, okay, let's change these patterns, the ones that are not useful, or let's use these resources in lives that make sense. So those experiences and memories becomes resources for every area of my life.
That's amazing. And what stands out to me is the next level of being coached unfolding here, right? So, and this is to me a very powerful way of applying to self, right? Everything that you perhaps have learned theoretically over your career towards being a master trainer in NLP, going to the ultimate coach, nature
Yeah.
itself, and
Yeah.
using that as a way to identify your patterns, testing
Yeah.
the limits of your comfort zone through the activity of climbing, and just allowing yourself to experience limitlessness in any way, shape, or form. That is, I can, I that, and then applying that to your actual day-to-day experiences post the trek. What an amazing way of proving to us that nature is absolutely not a waste of time. It can be the most effective, free, empowering way of finding new patterns within yourself to take yourself to the next level. That is so. Thank you for opening this discussion with something so powerful. Andale, what are your thoughts on what Nishith just shared with us? It's amazing.
Yeah, Nishith is then when we observe the pattern of Nishith, then we are finding that changing that challenging situation to a simple situation. And he added that changing pattern. So I'm just thinking about that when you say the changing pattern of yourself, how is it that for you when you change any specific pattern in yourself and change it? What is that for?
Yeah. I mean, for me, that's an example of transformation, right? For me, that's an example of understanding that, what patterns are useful for me, uh, or where are the patterns useful, and where do I need to change? Where do I need to shift? Where do I need to create? So it's a lot of awareness of my own self and how I can just reorganize myself um, in a way that helps me move towards my vision and that helps me be resourceful. The thing is that what I believe, what my experience of life has been, that when you live your day-to-day life, you don't pay attention to these things. It's just something it's unconscious, right? A lot of these patterns are unconscious. And so for me, being in nature, when I'm climbing mountains and when I'm moving out of my comfort zone, it's easier. I mean, this just becomes obvious. And so the patterns just show up. And so then it's much more easier to work with them when you're paying attention to them specifically. That's why a lot of people also have this amazing experience. Even though they might not be, I'm an NLP master trainer, so I'm consciously thinking about it. But even when people aren't consciously thinking about it, as most people say that, right? They go in the mountains and they come back and they feel there's a healing energy there. They come out being a different person. In a lot of people use mountains as metaphors, right? They say mountains are healing, nature is healing. All of that is part of the same experience. It's just that being an NLP master trainer, I am able to unpack that experience to understand that what really is going on and where can I shift and where can I transform.
Okay. Wow. This is, I'm beginning to see here, and I have attended 2 of these retreats with you. I believe Andale did the Goa retreat
Yes.
last year, and I'm able to now identify from within myself during that retreat I attended with you in Goa and in Switzerland, how the unconscious became conscious for me, right? And that is the essence of core transformation, right? That is Wow. And this is something I think that can be of great value to our listeners because, uh, you know, here Nishit has taken us, he goes to all the way to the mountains to put himself mindfully through the process of pattern identification and, becoming, experiencing the healing that comes from integrating the unconscious with the conscious, right? And the transformation that happens as well. Um, I can see that it happened with me as well when I went to Switzerland and, tested myself against that slope, which was honestly the first time in my life for me, running out of air halfway through, struggling to make it to the other end. Facing my limitations, but understanding that at the end of the day, one can make it through to the other side of those limitations. Since that experience for me, the mountains do represent that metaphor of transformation for me. Andalib, did you experience anything like that in Goa? Because that's the ocean, right? We're talking about the ocean
Yeah.
as the metaphor there. What was it like for you when you were attending Nishit's, retreat there?
So what I said that Nishith retreats are different. When I went to a retreat, it was very neutral. And first time when I went to Goa, it was a very different experience. And the second time when I went to Goa, that's another great experience. So nature gives you lots of experiences. And Nishith retreats, like the Goa retreats, are totally different from each and other retreats. So for me, it's a great transformation in a sense. I am battling every time my challenges with my resources. And I bring out those challenges in the retreat and I work on that. And I make myself. Nature gives us the space. It doesn't judge. It doesn't guide. It's a flawless thing that we naturally evolve. And that's happening in the retreats, I think. So whenever it is the mountain, whenever it is the sea, ocean, or anything, if I look at my garden in front of me, just in a balcony, that can be a great transformation. That can create a great transformation in my mind because it has that much power. And every retreat, though it was my intention to get the certificates of NLP trainers or master practitioners, anything else. But end of the retreat, I found that it's not only about the certificates, it's about the changing transformation of life. And that's why I related with everything we should say that is a growing, it's healing, and it's healing coming from naturally from the nature. And Nishit, I'm just curious to know as you share about the transformation happening. So I observe that it's not only the individual transformation. When I transform, so it's creating an impact of my friend or the other member of the retreat or in the training. So how, as a trainer, when you do this kind of retreat in the nature, what happens that you are transforming yourself and how to transform others as well as?
I mean, so there are lots of different factors to that I can think about. But I think uh, fundamentally, I can boil all of them, like bring all of them down to the core of modeling, right? Because when we are together in that space, in that environment, and we are living together for like 7, 8 days in the same space, in the same environment, everyone starts to unconsciously modeling each other. And we are consciously also modeling nature, right? So what happens is that when one person is creating transformation, it what we call it comes into the system, and unconsciously people start modeling that. And when people unconsciously start modeling that, they also start experiencing that. I mean, we do have one of the foundational belief of excellence in NLP, right? That what you see in other mirrors the structure in you, within you. And so, in a way, if someone experiences transformation, when you recognize that, that automatically creates transformation within you as well. And of course, our experience, that environment for me is such an important thing because part of being in nature is that it's away from distractions. So you are not getting distracted from getting transformed, right? Which is very different when you are at home or sometimes even in online sessions. Because at the end of the day, after 3 hours, you are getting distracted to go back to your day-to-day life and doing your day-to-day things and creating your day-to-day tasks. Um, and so that I think is fundamentally what happens. And there's also one of the beliefs that we have is system, right? That what one person experiences, sort of they bring that into the system, and it creates a very trickle effect in the system. So it's almost like one person's experience is the experience of the whole system, and that creates transformation for everyone else as well. But that happens also from unconsciously modeling each other, being in the same space.
Wow.
Mm.
I love how this discussion is progressing so far. We initially unpacked the transformation that happens at an individual level, right? When Nishith, when you described what happens when you do this by yourself, and Andala, thanks for bringing in the aspect of the group, because now we are seeing how it ripples out into a system, how it happens across a body of people, and what is possible at beyond the individual, right? At a much higher level. I'm already starting to get visions of entire communities making something like this a way of life for themselves, right? In order to tap into their resources and to achieve that balance and growth at a consistent level. Wonderful. So,
I mean, one more thing that I could add in terms of this is also if you recognize the experience, when you do something with someone else which is out of the ordinary. So let's say you've been on a retreat with other people, or you go on a trek with other people, or you go on a holiday or a vacation with other people.
hmm,
It sort of forms a different kind of bond because you have had a shared experience,
yeah.
right? Same thing happens with us in climbing mountains as well. When we were stuck in the storm with 7, 8 other people, it's almost like we've had this shared intense experience. All of us experienced the same thing and we shared it and we then had fun with it and we helped each other and we supported each other. And that sort of builds that community. So that shared vision and shared experience builds that strong bond and strong relationship between people. And that also creates that transformation. And I feel like nature allows you, it's almost like it gives you that space to have this shared experience
Yeah.
with everyone, with the group, with each other, with whoever you're with in nature. And that also creates such a different level of impact.
Wow, that is amazing. I can, you know, what's coming up here are perspectives that can help people in day-to-day life. I feel like we are able to now bring a lot of this to the core of this talk, which is neuro-linguistic programming for daily living. Because you just talked about the shared experience that comes with, in your case, you meant, and which we're going to unpack after this, when you were stuck in a storm with 8 other people, you mentioned that there was a sort of a collective transformation that created a bond, right? A community that was born of that bond, which which I'm sure persists to this day. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing that's the case.
Yeah.
Um, Imagine this happening in families. We live in a time where families are challenged by all kinds of forces of the modern world, technology, separation, migration for the sake of employment, and things like that. Bonds get tested in family units, between couples of all, and in all these situations. Something as simple as going to nature and allowing the space, like as you described, Nishit, of letting the shared experience create the system of transformation between individuals. I can see that being of immense value to people to bring into their day-to-day priorities, into their goals for the year as a family or as in any other collective unit that needs to build cohesion together and move forward together. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like having a ritual when you're specifically going through a challenging time,
yeah,
having a ritual of sort, and having a shared vision of the family, right?
Mm.
Most times in family, people don't think about shared vision. Like, what's the vision of the family? We have individual visions, like my vision's this, and your vision's this, and your vision's this. But creating a shared vision and having a ritual, sort of like yearly, spending 3 4 days together in nature to just focusing on that vision and focusing on growth and patterns, makes such a huge difference. It's a very different mindset to operate from and very different way to work with. And like I said, it doesn't have to be extraordinary. You don't have to go to the Himalayas. You don't have to go to Switzerland. I mean,
Mm.
nature's like, I'm sure anywhere people live, they just have to drive like 1 or 2 hours away in any direction, and nature's available in some way or some form.
Sweet.
So, uh,
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Uh, do you see any applications for something like this in maybe a corporate structure, Nishit? Like, I'm sure as a master trainer, you have dealt with corporate clients as well. Do any aspects of this is anything like this possible for something beyond the family, say for a body of employees or at a management level? Has
Or in
anything?
organization.
Yes, yes.
Organization. Yeah.
Andalab, you're involved in a lot of organizational work, right? So, is there any scope for this, bringing these aspects of transformation and system to other such settings, Nishit, from your experience?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, the principles apply everywhere,
Mm.
right? So, I mean, an organization also likes a shared vision. They actually have a shared vision. So, stepping into that vision, stepping into that roles is important. I've ran a couple of retreat uh, from the context of leadership, because what is leadership at the end of the day? Your ability to create that vision for everyone else,
Mm.
recognizing your own patterns, recognizing your team's patterns, and then aligning them in a way that there is that shared path for
Mm.
everyone and shared clarity for everyone. I once did a small retreat for founders of one of the organizations. There were four of them in a place called Masina Guri, where we were in the forest and elephants and jungles. And a big part of the outcome was to overcome conflicts,
Mm.
overcome the whole point of having different directions, right? So everyone had different direction that they wanted to go to. Everyone had a different value system that they were working with, and just being in nature, being in the forest, we just modeled the forest. We just modeled that how forest works together to
Wow.
build the forest, right? Everything is in sync with each other. And even though there might be different directions or different ideas, but they are all eventually working towards the same vision. So
Mm.
how do you create that alignment by modeling? I mean, one of the things that I definitely also believe I've shared many times in the past is that if you just pay attention to the nature, you have all the answers.
Mm.
Like, nature has the answers to most of the complex problems. So, when you're going through something, you just need to pay attention to the nature, how the leaves grow, how everything is in sync with each other, how the rivers flowing, how the whole system of ecology of nature works. If you pay attention to the details of that, then you will, one way or the other, find an answer from that. And that's what we did here. We spent 2 3 days, of course, doing a lot of sessions and coaching. So it was specifically directed coaching, but a lot of it was coaching from observation in nature. We did this similar stuff in Agumbe, where there are lots of, like, it's a dense rainforest and there's so much to model,
Mm.
so much to work with. So there are definitely so many different applications. I mean, in everywhere, in organizations, in day-to-day life, in personal growth, even for coaches, right? As a coach, when you learn to observe nature, you'll find strategies of how to work with clients. Uh,
Wow.
you can model that out from nature and build your own systems and models to work with clients, and you can make such a different level of impact as well. So there are, like I said, limitless applications.
Wow. Well, I'll never look at a forest the same way ever again. Thank you for that. Seeing an organization, using a forest as a metaphor for an organization's innate nature in terms of balance, in terms of solving problems, finding answers in the details. That is a next level way of looking at an organization as a living, breathing entity, like a forest. So that is so valuable. Thank you for that share. Andalab, I invite you to ask any
Yeah.
questions regard.
So, I'm just listening to Nishit that when we started talking about, we started with self, and now slowly, gradually, we are going to the family, from family to community, then community to the organization. That's showing that we all are limitless and we have that power being limitless. And so in a retreat or any organization, there are people from different values. And as this is said, that end of the day, we are synchronizing each other, respecting each other values, identity, thinking procedure. And that's very important. So when you're doing this kind of stacks with group, like in retreat or in your organization, you are observing people that they are from different places, different culture, and you are taking all of them together in your platform. And how is it that possible for you?
What do you mean by that? What is that?
So all are working together in the same
Mhm.
way in the organization retreat or in a personal retreat, or in a training. End of the day, we all are working together. We're doing the same thing, being different. So that's the thing. How is that possible for you to bring everyone in the same platform?
And like I said, I think it boils down to having a shared vision. See, once you're focusing on vision and not yourself, right? Then what would happen is that the perspective changes. Being different becomes a resource rather than a limitation. Because being different means that we're all bringing different qualities and different skill set and different
Wonderful.
identity and all of that to contribute towards that vision. But the challenge happens that when there is not a strong sense of shared vision, then what are you contributing towards? And which means then the focus shifts on self. And when that happens, then being different becomes a challenge because, hey, you're doing something very different than I am doing. I would have done this differently. I would have done that differently. So that's where I think that's one of the things to pay attention to. The second thing is also this is where I feel NLP makes such a huge difference, right? That paying attention to structure. Because being different, let's say one person likes to organize things in a specific way, and the other person likes to organize things in different way, right? Now that could be a strength when you pay attention to the structure, because when we look at NLP, what is that? Maybe it could be in time and through time structure. And so which means someone who prefers to work through time can have a specific, they bring specific set of skills to the organization that can be beneficial. And then someone who prefers to work in time can bring other set of skills. Uh, so content wise, we can be different. And I think it's useful that we are different. We need to be different. Otherwise, we'll all be clones of each other. Structurally, as humans, we are still same. We all have same patterns and we all have same way of thinking. And so when we align that, then being different becomes a strength.
Wow. Wow. So we're just unpacking the possibility for conflict resolution and synchronicity here. That is so cool. And using nature as the ultimate metaphor for understanding that. Um, how there can be how to find strength in diversity, right? Which is what nature is. Nature is enduring strength and permanence and diversity.
Yeah.
Wow, these are amazing learnings you're bringing to us from everything that you have yourself modeled and put yourself through, and shared with others through the way you use nature as a template for transformation. That is so cool. I wanted to also revisit what you mentioned. I just want to revisit that moment of when you were challenged as a group, right? You mentioned that you were stuck in a storm with a bunch of individuals, because let's face it, nature can test one to the limits, right? It's not all just trekking through, peaceful weather or connecting with beauty. There are times when nature decides to dial up the pressure, right, by subjecting you to extremes. Um,
Absolutely.
would you like to perhaps share a little context about that situation that you were in, if you don't mind, for our viewers, for our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, this was part of one of the mountaineering training that I was part of, and there were a bunch of us. Part of the training went to the base camp of a mountain, so there was, and then we were supposed to go to the summit. Uh, a lot of the training was supposed to happen at the base camp, but from the day that we reached, it just continuously snowed and snowed and snowed. It just like snowed day in and day out. And so, which meant that it became so cold, all the water that started freezing, the temperatures went into negative, because there was so much of snow. So we had to continuously keep plugging the snow out. Otherwise, the tents would get buried under the snow. So we couldn't sleep straight. Like, like some of us will always have to go and get the uh, every 2 3 hours remove the snow, then come rest for some time, and then remove the snow, and then come rest for some time. And this went on and on for such a long time. During the daytime, it became difficult because running water wasn't easily available. uh, Eating food when it's that cold and you're at that altitude, as it is, you don't feel like eating. But then, like when they prepared warm food, the food would just get cold in like 2 minutes. So
Yeah,
it wasn't fun to eat that food, but we had to consciously make an effort to eat that food. Walking from one place to another place was difficult with slip, because first when the snow is coming, it's soft, right? But after a lot of people are walking on it, then it becomes hard and then it becomes slippery. So it would start slipping and falling, and it was just a lot.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, eventually we started. The first couple of days we were all very challenged, but eventually I noticed one of the things that I noticed was that I started becoming paying attention to very small chunk. Like
mm,
I didn't think about it that, oh, 7 days, 8 days, how am I gonna survive this? What is gonna happen? I started focusing slowly. It happened like, let's just focus on today. Then it
yeah,
just happened on, let's just focus on half a day. Then it's like, okay, let's just focus on the next meal. Let me eat the next meal and then we'll see what next. So paying attention to what's present and what's now started happening.
mm,
Uh, that was a that was the first distinction. Then as a group, we started supporting each other,
mm,
because once we have a meal, we had to wash the vessels, right?
mm,
Um, and we couldn't wash the vessels because everything was so cold. So hand would like freeze and we would get like cold burn.
yeah,
So when we started like doing rounds. So we would like almost like eat from the same plate, so that we don't have to wash four plates, right? And one by one, people will people will go and wash those plates. So we started building the systems to help and support each other
yeah,
uh, as much as we can.
mm,
But having gone through this experience, when we were done and when we came down, it was it was almost like we've gone through a little challenging times together.
yeah,
And so for all of us experience that together, so it created a different level of bonding, which still exists. I mean, we still talk to each other. We still are connected with each other. We still try and meet each other every time we are in the same city. It's a very different level of bonding that got formed that
amazing.
time.
Wow. Yeah, imagine you're describing a situation where basic things we take for granted in day to day life were suddenly beyond your reach, right?
Yeah,
In terms of just keeping your fingers unfrozen,
yeah.
getting,
That's the thing. That's where the lessons come, right?
yeah,
Because after that, when I came back home, a lot of things that I took for granted, I didn't take for granted anymore. I just saw the value of so many different. I saw the value of water. I saw the value of just being able to sleep on a mattress. That itself was uh, so valuable. But also that when I was challenged, it was the same thing. There were so many patterns about myself, how I felt, how I got anxious, how I got scared. how I got angry, a lot of those patterns started emerging in that context, uh, which taught me so much about myself and about others.
Amazing. So, what you mentioned earlier about the unconscious becoming conscious awareness, right?
Yeah.
And this is in terms of patterns of anger, fear, confusion,
Yeah.
all becoming mindfully aware of how that unfolds within you,
Yeah.
which to me represents a space of being able to take charge of it, right? And
Yeah.
for future, for that could also be a next level for someone in so many ways. So that is very
And
powerful.
also, Priya,
Yeah.
I'd like to add that Nishit is giving a specific example of doing challenging things in a very simple way.
Yeah.
When he started that here's the pattern of challenging things to shifting into simple way, and just giving the specific example that's focusing on present, doing small chance things. So specific example pattern of challenging to simple way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful, Nishit. And thank you so much for bringing this kind of structure to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, that is true. This is something we can apply to day life when faced with an overwhelming challenge, right?
Yeah.
What we can learn from this pattern that Nishit just shared about focusing on the present, on the now, and thinking and going small chunk and seeing what is possible when one goes in that direction. Paying attention. I can see that hacking into one's attentiveness to detail and being able to manifest solutions to a problem. So that was really powerful. And finally, of course, the lesson that you also touched upon, Nishit, of building the support system through genuine bonding, right? Through a shared experience and a shared challenge. Those are to me really powerful takeaways that we're able to get from what you just shared. And I feel very motivated myself now to go and just look the next situation like this in the eye and let it happen. What about you, Andalib? This is just from a conversation with Nishit here. What about yourself?
Yeah. There are lots of things, lots of thinking are happening in my mind that we shared how we moving from a simple one point to another point, from nature to mountain to now we are thinking about the big perspective of our daily life issues. And lots of structure are dancing in front of me, just like I said, that it's that the thing that a simple thing that we have all this thing in our mind. But now I think it's a high time after listening all the structure from Nishit, compiling everything, processing everything in my mind. I think it's a time for me to observe more and apply these things to our daily life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. I think we've happily proven that our original topic for this chat, that nature is a waste of
Yeah,
time, is completely wrong.
completely wrong.
So thank you, Nishit, for helping us reach that really amazing conclusion.
And from today, nature becomes our coach.
Yes, definitely. I won't be when I observe things, even within the vicinity of where I live, it's not going to be the same. There's going to be a lot more awareness now and mindfulness when I do
Yeah.
that. A lot more because uh, it's on the one hand we can take ourselves out of our comfort zones firmly by the way Nishit just explained, right? Taking himself mindfully to places that challenge him. That is one option for sure. But let's say in day-to-day life we don't have the time and space to physically do that. We can make the best of what's around us already. And the next time we leave our bubbles and go out to any place within us, near us, that represents nature in its purest form, um, at least now we have filters with which we can let that input enter us and see if we can find transformation closer at hand and use it to nourish us and definitely make the most of our time with nature. So that was wonderful. Nishit, do you have
Wonderful.
any final thoughts from what you've shared with us today and how we've learned so much from what you've shared? Do you have any? thoughts from your end.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things I could share. One is, like you guys said rightly, that uh, at the end of the day, nature is an amazing coach. It depends on how we pay attention to that.
Mm.
So if the more we start paying attention to the details, the more we can start learning from it and understand the metaphors of nature. Uh, like I said, nature has all the answers. We just need to look for them.
Mm.
We just need to know what the right questions are to ask. And like you guys rightly said, that you don't always have to do extraordinary things to learn from nature. Like I said, you can go to a park and that's nature. You can go and drive 1 hour outside of the city and that's nature. You can walk and there's a tree and that's nature. So there's a lot of access to nature still, thankfully, available in the world. Uh, and it's just about paying attention and observing
Yeah.
and modeling what's happening. When you model nature, amazing things starts opening up for you.
Yeah.
That creates a huge difference.
Yeah.
And to me, I feel like the more people that spend time in nature, the better the world's going to be generally. Mhm.
True. That's true. What a wonderful way to conclude our conversation today with that insight. Thank you so much, Nishith, for your time and for everything that you've shared. It is, when NLP and experience come together the way it does with you, it is already transformational, right? Within the conversation's context in itself. So I really appreciate you marking the first of our series of the Roundtable chat, where we explore how neuro-linguistic programming can transform day-to-day living. Thank you so much. Over to you, Andalip.
And thank you. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Nishit. And I think it's a resourceful conversation. And anyone can listen to this, whether even in NLP and not in NLP. It's a resource for your mental well-being, psychological well-being, professional and personal well-being.
Absolutely. Thank you. And on
Thank
this
you
note,
so much for having me here.
it
Thank
was
you.
and thank you. And thanks, Andalip, for co-hosting this talk with me. And we look forward to our next episode, where we're going to
Yes.
explore how we can make linguistic programming a powerful resource for day-to-day living. And I wish you both a good day. Take care. And I wish our viewers a wonderful day too. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you.